I want to talk about sort of a media story that's been created out of something that Joe Biden recently said, which I agree with completely. And I believe that it's being deliberately misinterpreted. The other day, Joe Biden said, Putin can't remain in power. Putin can't remain in power. And Joe Biden was correct. And what Joe Biden obviously meant when he said it was, this guy's a disaster. This guy's terrible for his own people. This guy has invaded another country and is leading to the deaths of, I don't even want to say whether it's thousands or tens of thousands, or, I mean, we just don't know right now the amount of death that is being caused by the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And Joe Biden said, this guy can't remain in power. And Joe Biden was not saying we're going to invade Russia. Joe Biden was not saying we're going to assassinate Putin. Joe Biden was not saying we're going to effect regime change in Russia. He wasn't saying any of those things. Now, has the U.S. done things like that in the past? Of course. But it's not what Joe Biden said. And it's very clearly not what Joe Biden meant. I agree. Putin can't remain in power, but it's not up to us to take him out of power. But Putin can't remain in power. It would be better for the world for Putin not to be in power. It'd be better for the world for Rodrigo Duterte not to be in power. It'd be better for Kim Jong-un not to be in power. Bolsonaro, Maduro. I mean, there's lots of leaders where I would say, this guy can't remain in power. This is not good. But that's different than we're going to take them out or U.S. imperialism is going to affect regime change or any of those things. Well, yesterday, Joe Biden did an event where he announced his new budget and billionaire tax that we spoke about on the bonus show. He took about 10 or 11 questions from reporters, and almost all of them were versions of the same question. Wasn't it wrong for you to suggest you're going to take Putin out? And of course, that's not what Joe Biden said. So let's look at some of these examples. And this is a perfect example of, I know that these reporters understand. That's not what Joe Biden meant. Joe Biden didn't say, I want to invade Russia. I want to remove Putin. I want to assassinate Putin or any of these things. Joe Biden just said, this guy can't remain in power for the good of the world. Whoop, and I even lost my headphones because I'm gesticulating so wildly. So let's start with the first one here. Here is Kelly O'Donnell from NBC.
Kelly O'Donnell, NBC.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do you believe what you said? Thank you, sir. Do you believe what you said, that Putin can't remain in power? Or do you now regret saying that because your government has been trying to walk that back? Did your words complicate matters?
Well, you asked 3 different questions. I'll answer them all. Number 1, I'm not walking anything back. The fact of the matter is I was expressing the moral outrage I felt toward the way Putin is dealing in the actions of this man, just brutality. Half the children in Ukraine. I just come from being with those families, and so. But I want to make it clear: I wasn't then, nor am I now, articulating a policy change. I was expressing the moral outrage that I feel, and I make no apologies for it.
Personal feelings?
My personal feelings. Secondly, you asked me about. Well, what was the second part?
Complicate the diplomacy of this moment.
No, I don't think it does. You know, the fact is that we're in a situation where what complicates the situation at the moment is the escalatory efforts of Putin to continue to engage in carnage, the kind of behavior that makes the whole world say, "My."
All right. So I think you get the point. He's not saying there's a new policy. He's not saying we're invading Russia. He's not saying any of those things. He's just like, this guy can't remain in power. And this is really one of those cases where media is seizing on something and there's really nothing there. Next, we'll go to Peter Doocy from Fox, who, by the way, for all of the adversarial questions that Peter Doocy asks, Joe Biden keeps calling on him at almost every press avail. Let's listen.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I know you're going to ask a really nice question.
Well, it's an important question, I think. Are you worried that other leaders in the world are going to start to doubt that America is back if some of these big things that you say on the world stage keep getting walked back?
What's getting walked back?
It made it sound like, just in the last couple days, it sounded like you told U.S. troops they were going to Ukraine. It sounded like you said it was possible the U.S. would use a chemical weapon, and it sounded like you were calling for regime change in Russia. And we know
None of the three occurred.
None of the three occurred?
None of the three.
Mr. President?
You interpret the language that way. I was talking to the troops. We were talking about helping train the troops that are the Ukrainian troops that are in Poland. That's what the context. I sat there with those guys for a couple hours. That's what we talked about.
So when you said you're going to see when you're there, you were not intending to
I was
say
referring to meeting with and talking with the Ukrainian troops who were in Poland.
And when you said a chemical weapon use by Russia would trigger a response in kind.
It will trigger a significant response.
What does that mean?
I'm not going to tell you. Why would I tell you? You got to be silly.
The world.
Okay, so that's on the first 2 points. And then Biden again going on to address this question of regime change. Regime change. You were calling for regime change, and of course he was not. And every reporter asking this, it's like they smelled blood in the water and they could ask nothing else.
Back to your original words that he cannot remain in power. Can you help us understand? You have more foreign policy experience than any president who's ever held this office.
Right.
Whether those are your personal feelings or your feelings as president, do you understand why people would believe you, as someone commanding one of the largest nuclear arsenals in the world, saying someone cannot remain in power is a statement of U.S. policy? And also, are you concerned about propaganda use of those remarks by the Russians?
No and no.
Tell me why. You have so much experience. You are the leader of this country.
Because it's ridiculous. Nobody believes we're going to take down. I was talking about taking down Putin. Nobody believes that. Number one. Number two.
And I think he's right that even these reporters don't believe it. I don't think these reporters really believe Biden was saying, we're going to go in and take Putin out and do regime change. He just said, this guy can't stay in power.
What have I been talking about since this all began? The only war that's worse than one intended is one that's unintended. The last thing I want to do is engage in a land war or a nuclear war with Russia. That's not part of it. I was expressing my outrage at the behavior of this man.
All right, so you guys get it. And this is the perfect story of the media-driven narrative. When Joe Biden said this, had reporters not started going crazy saying, oh, sir, are you demanding regime change? It never would have become a story. There's plenty to criticize Joe Biden about. This is not it. And it's almost a signal as to, I mean, listen, it wasn't even a slow news week, and yet still 7 out of the 10 questions or something were focused on this. Very strange stuff, and not particularly informative to the American public. One of our sponsors is called Privacy. Privacy is a totally free service that I've been using for years. Privacy lets me create virtual payment cards with one click, and when I use the virtual card, the money is taken out of my bank account. You can create multiple cards, delete them, freeze them, set a spending limit on them. Let's say I'm signing up for a free trial and it requires a credit card. Privacy will autofill a virtual card number, and then after signing up, I can delete that virtual card. So I know I'm not going to be charged again. Something really useful and very practical. Or let's say I'm ordering food over the phone, but I left my wallet somewhere. I don't have my real credit card on me. I can use a virtual card on my Privacy mobile app. But really the best part is you're not out there exposing your real credit card number, so you're not as susceptible to data breaches and identity theft. Privacy is a totally free service, and you'll get $5 to spend when you go to privacy.com/Pacman. The link is right underneath this video.